Hey there, Fellowship family. Welcome to your one-stop shop for all things church life. My name is Mark Francis, once again your host for today. And I have several people with me, I guess you can say, who are excited to share what God has done recently through Vacation Bible School. It feels like it was yesterday, but it was a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And man, let me tell you, if you have never experienced Vacation Bible School in person, put it on your calendar for next year, because it is a buzz around this church, and we're going to hear all about it. But I've got Brian Weir with me, who is, give me the title, Director of Children's Ministry?
Yes.
Fellowship Kids?
Yes. Yeah, both work.
Kids, yeah. any age below 5th grade,
correct?
Right?
6th grade.
6th grade. Thank you.
Yeah. Here
with us today. So Brian, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yep.
I also have Carrie, Knupp,
yes,
and Brenda, Medlin with us today. And you guys are going to give us just a taste and a glimmer of what that buzz at FBC looks like. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
How are you guys today? This is a first for you. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
No.
I have not. I have listened to a few, but I'm not really a big social media person.
That's okay.
But I was like thinking when I was first asked, I was hoping that I was going to go viral.
Yeah.
Viral
is a good word when it comes to a buzz like
this
that.
could be the start of our own podcast.
Not contracting a virus, but yes, going viral is a little different.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe you can. Yeah. You know, do a little dance for us today,
we may
potentially.
be found today, our talents, right now.
It's not a talent show. That's okay. That's okay.
All right.
Yeah. No, but it's exciting to have you guys with us. And so, Brian, I'll turn to you first. Just give us a quick recap of what leading up to VBS was like and what it was, in fact. Kind of give us kind of the recap of just even the history of Vacation Bible School.
Yes, I mean, FBC's been doing Vacation Bible Schools longer than I've been here. I've been here 15 years, so I honestly don't know when the first Vacation Bible School began. But, it starts with years and years of planning and preparing and generations before us and the things that they've done. And every year we, reevaluate things and tweak things. And from lessons learned, what do we do the same? What do we do different? But that specific planning for this year starts in January. And there's a group of myself, and it was 7 ladies that met once a month in the beginning, January, February, March, and then as we got closer, then it was every other week, and then in the last month it was every week. And each of them had a different section that they were responsible for. Some were responsible for getting the teachers, and some are responsible for like the mission and the snack and the games and just getting the volunteers and all the supplies that are needed for that event. So we spent many of hours planning and preparing for that, and obviously with support from our church and communications and getting volunteers signed up and kids registered. It led to about 400 kids coming here that week, over 150 volunteers. It's amazing. Like you said, you have to be in the room, I think, to experience what it really is when you walk into it.
What was the theme for the week? Because I know that's a special thing for kids.
Sure.
Right?
So we purchased a curriculum from Lifeway, and the theme this year was Breaker Rock Beach. So it was this concept of this beach that had a rock that did not move. Even in the shifting sands of our time, the wind and the waves come, but the rock stands firm. And so that rock obviously is Jesus Christ and His Word. And so really the whole theme was that God's truth doesn't change, and that He's always the same, even though the world tells us differently.
So the gospel gets presented during the week.
Yes,
absolutely. And kids hear it.
Yes.
And they bring it home to their parents and their families.
Yes.
So
very good.
That's just a snapshot of just what happens. But Brenda, I'll come your way first. Tell us just, what has your involvement been with kids here at church and in the past? Have you just decided I'm going to start serving this past year, or have you been involved in kids ministry?
I have been involved in kids ministry for a lot of years. We moved here, my husband and I moved here 6 years ago from the Dallas area. And
does that mean you're a Cowboys fan?
Huge. They're going to win the Super Bowl
All
this
right.
year.
I'm joining clapping with you.
Yes.
Okay. Make some enemies here on our episode, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We just lost a few listeners.
Well, anyway, I so after looking for a church and ended here at Fellowship, which I'm very, very happy and grateful and thankful. I knew that I wanted to be involved, and I've always been involved with children's ministry, whatever church I've been a member of. And so it was just the next step in the process of, becoming a member. And then I went over to the preschool area because that's what I was teaching prior to coming to Winchester in Dallas. Probably for 14 or 15 years, I was in the same church in Dallas, and I was teaching preschool at that point. So I came here, and there was, opening, and I moved right in and felt really comfortable, and have been doing it ever since. Now, last October, I took a little bit of a break from preschool, and then started this summer teaching in the kindergarten here at Fellowship down there.
So when it came to VBS,
Yes.
what then became your kind of passion in your role there for that week?
My background is like education, is teaching. I mean, that's why I went to college, to be a teacher and mainly a coach. That was my first love, was like, I want to be a coach. And so that involves teaching. And I just have always been involved with kids, from a young age. Actually, I think I was a junior in high school. I was a camp counselor. And, so there's these younger kids. I mean, I'm in high school, and I'm, being involved with these younger kids. So I think I know that's the gift that God has given me, and that's where I'm serving, is in the children
Awesome.
area. Yeah.
So you taught in VBS as well.
Oh, yes. A lot of years. I mean, that's kind of if you're a teacher in in church, in Sunday school, whatever you call it, Bible fellowship, then that's kind of a natural progression. You're going to do VBS. At least that's what I've done all these years. It was just that was just the next step. You're going to be involved in it, and I have no problem with it because I love to be involved with children, and I love to teach and just be a part of that. So
I'm going to hear a little bit about that, but push pause. Carrie, tell
My
us
story
about
is
your story of
very
getting
similar.
involved here. Yeah.
I also was a preschool teacher, and then I did VBS when we had it at Corals for a couple years. And then the past 3 years I've done it here, but I'm actually now a self-contained autism teacher. So it is kind of true. Like, you feel like it's just fun. I love being with kids. Like, I do it all year, and then I'm like, well, why not do that here?
Sure.
But I'm actually part of the Joy Ministry as well. So
Define that real quick for people that don't know.
So the Joy Ministry, we work in helping families and supporting their children if they have special needs. Some require buddies, some don't. It's just kind of making sure that they're in the right spot, like what classroom they should be in if they need the support. I've helped with, in Brian's side, with the elementary. Now I'm in the preschool. We have a lot of younger kids now that need support. So I'm a buddy right now, but I also help kind of with teachers and giving them tips and pointers and things that they can do, so maybe some of the kids can be successful without having a buddy.
Yeah.
So
It's just the passion is oozing from both of you guys. You're like, I love kids and I love to teach. So Brian's smiling
super
over here
fun.
because he's like, I love having people that have that same passion, and it's not forcing people to serve in an area where you're not really passionate and excited about. So there's, but it takes a village. It takes more than a couple people to rally the forces to herd 400 kids. What grades were you teaching at VBS this year?
I was kindergarten.
Kindergarten?
I
and
did third grade this year.
Third grade. Okay, so a little wide range. And how many kids were kind of in your classes, if you want to call it that, at a time?
I had, I think the most I was 19.
Okay.
And one day I had 17.
That's a good number, though. It's not super overwhelming.
It's smaller than it has in the past because we ended up, we got another kindergarten classroom. Usually we've had 2 in the past, and we ended up having a third one, which was awesome because then we could have a smaller group of kids, which works out great.
Third grade, what did that look like for you?
We had about probably the same. It kind of fluctuated, like you said, from day to day, but around 20 or so. Funny story, though, last year.
Can we talk about the year before?
Fire
Yeah,
away. So
yeah.
what happened?
You want to share?
Yeah.
Sure. So the year before, I had done 4th grade, so I was going to move up with my 5th graders, which I did. But then the 6th grade teacher was not available to do 6th grade, so I taught 5th and 6th grade. So I had like 72 kids last year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So this is a good downsize for
So
you.
this seemed like nothing.
coming off the crazy, coming down to just a handful of 20 kids or so.
It was
Sure.
fun though. Like I still had fun. We had a great time.
Yeah.
Like I still had fun with even that many kids.
So what do the interactions look like when you're hanging out with them? You guys obviously are excited and passionate to do that. For this past VBS, what were some of those teaching moments that you guys were like, oh, it was cool to see the kids engage in? What stands out?
I know for me, one of the first, I think it was the second day maybe, I had them looking up something in their Bibles, and I kind of grouped them together, and then I was like, wow, that was really great. Like, I love how because I'm thinking, yeah, we have a lot of kids that come from church, but we also have kids that maybe they've never looked in the Bible at all. Like, I don't know, So I kind of tweaked some of the lessons to make, like, the other days to have them looking up stuff in the Bible as well, because they enjoyed it, and we kind of grouped them together, and then we supported them so nobody felt uncomfortable. And I guess that comes from me, like my past experience. I wasn't raised in a Christian family, and I remember being like, this is really scary, having to look up something, and like everybody knows what they're doing and I don't know what I'm doing. So just kind of getting them to do that now and just be comfortable. And the other kids were great too, the ones that knew, and it's like, oh, there's a table of contents, and look, you just look here, and just making it fun and not a big deal. And they loved it. They had so much fun looking up verses. So
Cool. Brenda, how about you? What did it look like for the younger kids?
Oh, the interaction starts when they first come to the sanctuary, where everybody's in there, and it's just a large group, and we're in the very front. So you see the little ones, they're just walking up, and I just look forward to seeing their faces, because they're just like, I found my group, and I'm not lost.
Found my people.
Yes, found my people, and the kids they're just have a lot of energy, of course, and just to see their smiling face. And if they're not smiling because they're a little scared, but just going up to them and just saying, I'm so glad you're here, and putting your arms around them and just say, I'm so glad you came back. That's probably the one thing I'm so glad that they come back the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So and it seems to get better as it goes, as far as their comfortability.
There's something to doing every day of the week, day after day after day. You do build a quick relationship with kids. Yeah. And you want them to be really comfortable. And then also just when they my age group, they're not reading, and so we're not doing some things that the older kids would do, like opening the Bibles and looking for verses and things, but just and I'm just telling the story and trying to be as animated as I can and keep them as interested, because their attention span's not very long. Sure.
But
third grade isn't either, don't think.
Okay.
Doesn't get any better the older they get, right?
That's true. Yeah, so just like when you ask the follow-up questions and then they answer them, and you're just like, wow, they are listening, they do hear it. It is, getting into their hearts, and so it's very exciting and very thankful for that.
So from a spiritual content standpoint, day in, day out, give us the progression of what they learned, Brian, and kind of what's similar throughout the ages of the, whether it be third grade or 5K or sixth grade,
right,
and what's different, so give us the progression of what Monday through Friday looked like.
Yeah, so our first lesson was about God is in charge, God stands firm, and we went through the whole Adam and Eve sin entered the world. And then we also talked about the second lesson was with Daniel, and where he was given that choice to eat the king's food or eat the vegetables. I mean, we just covered Daniel here in your main service. And so it was just you're doing God's ways versus your ways. And once again, there was that common theme throughout the week of doing what God wants us to do versus what the world tells us to do. And then obviously we get into the parable of the rich young ruler was one of the lessons, and talking about how Jesus is the only way. It's not about selling your possessions. It's not about all these works. It's about what Jesus did for us. And then the last day was focused on Paul and how Paul was encouraging believers and how we were supposed to speak truth in love. And so I think that's the other thing, especially for the older kids, is the culture today is basically saying, if you don't agree with me, then you must hate me. And so we were trying to teach them that no, we can disagree, we can speak truth and do that in a loving way, and not necessarily. So you start out with the basics of we're sinners, we need Jesus, Jesus is our only way, but then even this last day of how to apply that in life.
And so kids are then taking some materials home with them as well.
Sure.
That they're able to every single day bring home and potentially recap with families and parents.
Yeah, I think the crafts were big with that. There's a craft time and they would take those crafts home, and those were always connected to the lesson. So I think that gives them an object that they can actually take home. And I mean, there were other things obviously that they took home as well, but I think the craft was a big part of that.
Yeah. I mean, throughout the course of the week, with that many people involved, that many kids, that many families and volunteers, there's potential ups and downs, difficulties that occur. Was there any kind of thing that popped out of how you saw God work through the good or the bad during the course of the week? What stood out to you guys?
I thought the week went pretty smooth, honestly. The thing that we had beforehand, being part of the Joy Ministry, was we always have a lack of volunteers, and knowing there's so many kids, we want to provide that at VBS as well. So if there's students that have a disability, we want them to be able to come to VBS too. So having a buddy for them, but it all worked out. Like, we had the perfect number. Some kids can be in my class, and it's fine because, like, I already know them and they know me, so it's easy to just have them in class with me. But yeah, we ended up, as far as I know, right? Like, everybody was good.
Yeah.
Everybody was covered.
I'll piggyback on what they said earlier. Like, we expected growth this year. We obviously did the outreach focus to try to get the church more involved in inviting others. So we knew growth, and we knew last year's classrooms were tight. Last year you had probably 25 plus or minus kids. And so we made a decision we were going to have 3 classrooms for kindergarten, first and second grade. And then as we were getting closer, the third grade was actually the highest number of kids. So we're like, okay, we need to add a third grade class. And this was 2 weeks before VBS. And so then you got to figure out, well, where are you going to put them? Who's going to teach it? And obviously God provides, and it all works out. But if anything, I think what you're talking about, I saw in the coming of, are we going to have enough volunteers because we're adding extra classrooms? How are we going to make this work in a rotation? And it all worked out.
Similar to like the Daniel series of trusting in the Lord.
Absolutely.
He'll provide. Yeah. He's sovereign. He's in charge.
Right.
And you're like, okay, there's this thing that we know that he has guided us towards. We're going to be doing VBS. And we want to provide opportunities for kids where maybe there's a little bit less than 72 kids in a classroom. But even then, whether God provided or didn't provide, we know that, like, okay, the message of the gospel is still being presented to the kids to where they can hear it and receive it.
Right.
Brenda, how about you? Any stories that stood out of God moments during the course of the week?
Well, I was just going to say just about maybe some, potential difficulties that may come up or just challenges that may happen. I mean, God puts the right people in leadership, and just knowing that as a teacher in the classroom, because I'm just in a classroom, but then there's 2 other kinders, and then there's all the other classrooms and just all the volunteers, but there's always the leaders that are over the whole program, and God knows what he's doing. And just to have that, just to know that is a comfort, and it just alleviates any of the anxiety that it may bring, that, there might be 30 kids in my class, and you're just starting to think of all these things that potentially could happen. But we all speak the same language. We're of one body of Christ, the Spirit of God. The Holy Spirit is just working through the leaders. You can just feel it. You can hear it. It's just so, it just makes it feel a lot, I guess, easier, because you know that God he's in the details, and he's in control, and you just let him do his work through his people.
We have a great VBS. I mean, I always feel like it is such, I've been to some others and they're all great, but I mean, ours is just always so smooth. I mean, I'm sure sometimes it's not so smooth in the background, but I mean, it is. Like, for us as teachers, I think it always feels that way. Like,
well, I'll comment on that.
The way that people are, transition through the school, through the church, and go to the different, centers and areas and the games, and like everything, every area you go to, it's so much fun. Like,
it's fun.
They do a great job.
It's fun, but it can also be exhausting, right? And there were times in the past where we actually trimmed it down to 4 days.
Right.
And because people just said by the 5th day, kids are done, volunteers are done. But we decided a couple years ago, no, we get 5-day curriculums. We have 5 days to do it. Let's make it 5 days. And I say that because this year, when I asked people how things went, the common response I got was, we didn't want it to be over. The kids didn't want it to be over. The kids were asking, can we come back next week? Volunteers, okay, maybe they wanted a break, but they were not complaining on day 5. They weren't dragging. Like I felt like even we finished well. And so I think that's just a testament to everyone involved in that.
What are some of the anecdotal stories that you've heard from parents or reactions of just, again, the kids have fun, right? That's part of it, is there's the excitement of getting out of the house and doing something fun and creative.
Sure.
But from the spiritual perspective of like, where do you think the families are? Especially maybe some of those who are fringe, not full-time FBC goers.
Right.
Any reaction from the
Yeah,
week?
I mean, we had a few families that came the week before. I think the parents wanted to come check out the church before they were leaving their kids for VBS, and then we had several that came after. And so, that's a big part of this too, right? We want to do it for our current body, but we also want to bring some people in, and it's not like we're trying to steal people from other churches, but there's people out there that don't have a home church. And so we see that. I think another thing I'll mention is we had 12 kids get baptized this past Sunday, right? And I'm not saying there's a direct connection there, but I do think there is some connection that, we have this spiritual focus for 5 days and for 3 hours a day. And, a lot of those kids, maybe they believe before VBS, but maybe it pushed them to believe, or maybe it pushed them to want to make that next step in their walk and be baptized. So I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, and we've always historically said here at church, Follow the Star is like the biggest outreach event of the year. Well, I would say VBS is right behind that.
Sure.
And as far as the number of volunteers it takes to pull it off, the involvement, the intensity during the course of the week, it is very similar. Yeah. And so there's these 2 big events that are going on during the course of the year. Here, VBS in the summer, where planning begins months and months in advance. Follow the Star, planning has already begun as well for this coming Christmas season. And so it gives us 2, one in the summer, one in the winter, 2 big pushes that as a church we're unified together to accomplish a common goal of presenting Christ to our church and to the world around us, the community. And so you guys play a big part in that. And so what do you see God doing in your life as you serve and as you volunteer in this big kind of unifying event? How does it impact your own personal life?
Well, do you want me to go?
So, Carrie, you're up. Yep.
I was going to say, I know for me personally, like I said, I wasn't raised as a Christian, so I know that was one of my things when I was in class. I was like, oh my gosh, some of these kids probably know more than I do. Like they're, I mean, you start to feel a little insecure. I mean, I did, like I didn't, this was not how I was raised. My family still are not believers, so that's hard. And like I said, I remember being a kid and it being difficult. So, but then, just thinking, but that's okay because I have that story. And I tell my kids every year at VBS, like, when I was your age, like I didn't know, nobody had really shared this with me. So, I mean, I just tell them that honestly knows, and, really that's okay. Cause it's, I'm reaching maybe somebody else that is in the situation similar to mine. So just accepting that it is okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Brenda, how about you?
I can just say that, God gave you that story and it is yours to, to share what you have, which is awesome. Just the kindness that I see when, with the volunteers and with the staff here at Fellowship, just prior to VBS starting, I mean, you're just going through this whole process of saying, yes, I'm going to do it. And then you get the curriculum, and then you're looking through all the curriculum. You're deciding on what you're going to, how you're going to present it to your class, and you're going to use props or decoration. So there's just a lot that goes into it, and it's just a process you go through. And just the, coming up to the church during the week, I mean, there are those in the office that are just like, how can I help you? What can I do? Or I'd ask them a question. They're just like, yeah, I can help you. I just found that very endearing. So just the kindness, I just see kindness and thoughtfulness with all the volunteers for VBS and teachers that I don't even know. I mean, I know this is a big church, but I came from Dallas, which was a really big church,
Sure.
like, 30,000 members and all that. So this is a big church for the area, but you still have people that you don't know. And so being a leader for VBS and seeing other leaders and meeting them for the first time and just the kindness and thoughtfulness of them.
Yeah, it's something to be said of like you are here to serve the kids, but in the same way you guys are receiving all kinds of benefits of just the blessing that you're partnering with other people and having conversations while you're doing it or setting up. I mean, there's just kind of there's this give and take of, yeah, it takes a lot of work and effort, but then at the end of the day, like you're saying, Brian, people are like, well, I can keep going because at least, God's going to empower you to do it. So you love that kind of idea of how serving can also be a gift on your end as well, which I'll let that be a segue for you, Brian, because children's ministry doesn't end, right? It's not VBS and done. And
It's not.
That Sunday came quick, and
Yep.
the next Sunday comes again, and pretty soon we're launching the fall ministry where there's Wednesdays and things like that.
Yep.
So what does that look like for children's ministry and the need for help and volunteers? And if people are saying, well, maybe God is tapping my shoulder, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a need. With that being said, we have a very strong group of faithful volunteers, especially in the elementary ages, where we ask the teachers to serve every week for 9 months because we want that consistency for the kids. We think it's good for the teachers to have the kids to have the same teachers and build that relationship. And so we have a very faithful group. But with that being said, every year someone comes and goes, and so we're always looking for additional hands and feet. People need weeks off. We need substitutes. There's always good to have a third set of hands in the classroom. So there's always needs. But God provides. And so if you do have a desire to serve, then I welcome you to contact me. If you love the Lord and if you love kids, then we have a place for you. So.
And even to what Carrie said, it might be a little scary, right? But or you might not think you have all the answers, but it's okay.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
Because God will lead you through it a little bit at a time, right?
Yeah.
And there is curriculum that you're walking through, and the support that I know Brian and his team gives to the teachers is there. Yeah. So it's not like you're completely flailing around.
Right.
You get put into a system and a structure that is going to be there to help you, the volunteer.
Sure.
In the ministry to come, just give us a couple of key things to look out for parents who have kids.
Yeah, so our move up weekend will be August 17th, 18th. And so that's when the kids will move up to the next grade. Wednesday night activities will start that first week of September. And so we'll have Club 56 for 5th and 6th graders the first and third Wednesday. We'll have our kids choir. That'll be on the second and fourth Wednesday starting in September. And then if anyone's interested in helping lead our kids in worship, our Kids Up worship team, they also meet the first and third Wednesday. So all that'll start up in September, and we'll have information out on the websites. And you guys can obviously contact me if you're interested in any of that. I was just communicating with people this week trying to get volunteers for Club 56. So yeah, there's always opportunities.
And on that second Sunday of the month, September 8th, there's going to be a family meal.
Correct.
For parents with kids of that age group.
Yeah, absolutely.
So right after church?
Yeah, so if you guys can stay, we're more than happy to help have you. We did this twice last year. I think it's just a good opportunity to get all the families together, provide food, and just give you an update on what we're doing, and just to help partner better with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that is a good way to end. I think people get a taste of VBS, they get a taste of what God does through children's ministry, and just continue to pray. I mean, continue to pray for the children of our church, because it's not just the parents. Parents are the primary disciple makers, but there is a whole support staff of people, team, resources, teachers, who, when your kids come to children's ministry, they're seeing the love of the Lord and they're hearing about Christ. So continue to pray for the kids, the ministry here, and that God continues to provide additional people to partner with those children. So, Brian, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Carrie, Brenda, you guys are amazing. I love the passion just oozes out of you guys.
I think I chose wisely.
Yes. Good people to share what happened here at VBS. And for all of you guys watching and listening, continue to share your thoughts, ask questions, fire away if there's certain things and topics that you want to hear more about here on this podcast, Fellowship Family. Continue to also look out for those other episodes on the Global Church podcast and Sermon Spotlight. Next week, we're going to get a chance to hear of what God is doing in and through the Biblical Soul Care Ministry. So stay tuned for that for next Friday. Well, until we do chat again, let's let Christ be the focus of our lives each and every day.